months at the State Capture Commission. You cannot be having a president who will be in courts over 783 counts of fraud charges. You cannot actually have a president who must answer to the impeachment proceedings that are due any time against him. Furthermore, the continued stay of Mr. Zuma in office should be actually contextualized in relation to the pillars of our democracy and organs of state and all organs that support democracy. At his behest, all of them are actually day in, day out being eliminated and removed and being weakened. By the time we take over in 2019, there will be nothing to govern, nothing to govern. And all institutions that support democracy will have been broken into pieces. We'll be back into 1994. Be as it may, we do not need to take over a government that is broke, because for every day Mr. Zuma is in office, you can rest assured of how many billions of rands are getting into Dubai. We do not need a broke state in 2019. The earlier he goes, the better, because in 2019 we'll find a very sound fiscus. The earlier he goes, the better for us, because in 2019 we'll find all institutions that support democracy at least better than they are now. He's broken he has finished off the NPA, and the only institution remaining probably is the Auditor General and the Judiciary. But the rest he has finished them, the Public Protector, even the Parliament itself, he's busy with it. So it is in the best interest of the country and the citizens that the man goes, and for every second and minute he's in office, he is just finishing the country and for the little that remains of it. Thank you.
We do have a question.
Let me take that question where we talk about President Zuma.
An alternative.
Yes.
Okay.
The truth of the matter is that we are focusing on President Zuma, and we have listed the problems, and the public is aware about how he has behaved since he took over, took the reins. The issue of who would take over from him, that matter should be left entirely to all political parties in Parliament, because each political party would be free to field their own candidate when a new president is needed to be elected. Am I correct? Did I hear?
I was just asking about, in the interim, if now the decision is taken that the president shouldn't address the nation.
Okay. Okay. No, we would listen to anybody but Zuma, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Let's maybe as a matter of fact, let me answer that. Sorry. Okay.
Okay.
As opposition parties, in many instances, we have actually said it in public that we take cognizance of the fact that the ANC won the national elections in 2014. It is a majority in Parliament. It has a responsibility to assist the country to elect a president other than Mr. Zuma, for the peoples of SONA and for the peoples of the remaining term of its office come 2019, we'll see who else becomes president. But as a matter of fact, we respect the election's outcome. The ANC must actually tell us whom they are nominating and nominate the person from the floor in a special sitting, which we have been calling for as the EFF.
Let's listen to the word from a veteran.
A Robben Island. There are no Robben Islanders in the top 6 there.
In the top 6. This is an important question. Very many people forget that South Africa is a relatively young democracy. In the circumstances, as we move deeper into the future, it will become clear that as our constitution is structured, the person, man or woman, who becomes leader of this country will always be elected by the majority of the members of the National Assembly. And history will prove us right. At some point in future, this country will have a president which does not have 50% plus one. Because when members of parliament, when members of the National Assembly elect the leader for South Africa, it actually will become irrelevant as to from which party that person comes. It is going to be about how many South Africans, representing South Africans in the National Assembly, recognize a man or a woman that they feel maximally reflects the values, the norms, and the wishes of the people. That time will come. Therefore, it's irrelevant who's the president of the ANC. And it will be irrelevant who's the president of the DA or UDM or any one of these parties. It is going to be when the people decide this question, ultimately, it will be about this. And so there's a certain assumption which we must begin to eliminate in the minds of the people of our country. The assumption that who was elected in December to be president of the ANC is now taken automatically, that is the president of South Africa. It's a completely mistaken thing, completely wrong. Because if such a person is a thief, the people of South Africa will determine that. If we amend the Electoral Act and there was a coalition government in the country, the result will be different. But it's a new democracy, it's a young democracy. It's only suffered its first huge storm of corruption, maladministration, violation of the Constitution. South Africans have learned lots of lessons from that. As we proceed into the future, they will approach the question differently. Thank you.
Okay, let's attempt the last round. Stay, Jacaranda, Keho, Khau, and then Sister. Yeah. Let's start with you, Sister.
Okay, my name is Kelvin from ENN7. Just going back actually to my first question that you already asked, just going back, if at all the presiding officers will again, like yesterday, say that we are not accepting your request, SONA will go ahead as it is, whoever the president is. Let's talk hypothetically, if President Jacob Zuma will deliver SONA 2018, will the opposition parties boycott or will there be a disruption? Boycott totally not going in.
Do you like Jacaranda?
Thank you.
Sorry.
I'm Khaopanela Panasila from Jacaranda FM. We see as this call for the president to go gets louder and louder. There's also a call for hands on Zuma. There was a briefing today about a march that's been planned by the BLM and other parties. I just want to know if any of you would like to react to that, because they are saying that Zuma is being attacked, but White Monopoly Capital is not being attacked, which is the normal thing they say. But now they have mobilized people to march to the ANC headquarters. So I just want to know if any of you want to react to that.
No, I'm covered by code. I just wanted clarity on what is the decision that has been made regarding.
Okay, I'm going to be closing now, so I'm giving you guys the last space to breathe. Oli, anyone else? Hajra, going once. Thank you. Hajra?
I think you meant for about 4 hours, so surely this is not all you discussed in 4 hours. You have to tell us what it is. Did you discuss like the strategy of how you will deal with SONA, depending on which credentials?
Gambi?
Oli from ENCA. Just on the issue of those that seem to be organizing counter messages against Zuma leaving, is there a concern perhaps that there could be, this could be the start of fermenting polarization of sorts in the country, fermentation of basically violence? Are you concerned about that? The other issue, what are we to make of the opposition parties that are not participating or that are not taking part in this coalition of opposition parties on this issue? For example, you have the FF Plus and you have the NFP that are not part of this. What are we to make of that or of those parties? And then perhaps finally, does the election of Mr. Ramaphosa present a headache for the opposition parties going into 2019, given that there has been this talk around a possible coalition government come 2019?
Okay, before we address the headache, let's take SABC last one.
I just want to check, when you look at what's happening in the country currently, are we going Zimbabwe in terms of transition? Are we experiencing Kenya?
Okay, I'm going to ask the Muruti to go first.
Well, maybe I should start with the last question. I don't think people of South Africa are so blind that they do not acknowledge the alternatives they have in the country. People of the country know that if one party fails, they have the privilege of choosing another political party. South Africa will not go the route of Zimbabwe. I don't believe that. And we also will not be like Kenya, because South Africans, I believe, are intelligent voters. They've been hearing what the opposition has been saying. They've been seeing what the opposition has been doing. So it is not like the opposition has not been doing anything. So because of all the efforts of the opposition, I believe many of those who are saying the ANC is our party for life, many of them have changed their minds. They have said, we have to change our voting patterns, and that's why we are convinced that come 2019, we will not have the ANC in government. They will be in the opposition, because the people sitting here are going to give South Africa something that will make them hopeful of a greater future. And maybe if I can comment also on the issue of Ramaphosa. South Africans again know that in South Africa you don't vote for a person, you vote for a political party. And the person, Mr. Ramaphosa, could be having excellent ideas that could make South Africa or take South Africa to greater heights. But there is policy that he has to reckon with. There is a political party he has to reckon with. If they don't like the route he's taking, he will experience what Jay said is experiencing right now. They will show him the door. So his hands, to an extent, are tied because of the political system we are having in South Africa. So we are not worried about Mr. Ramaphosa. People now who want JZ to leave are saying the ANC members are refusing to allow Jason to go. So even if Ramaphosa can make us promises, if the ANC electorate does not like that, we are still going to have the policy of the ANC that many of us believe have failed South Africa.
And then,
No, thank you. I mean, yes, there is a lot that has been discussed in the 4 hours, as you say, Raj, but I think it's important that we give the presiding officers the benefit of the doubt, because there is a meeting of the leaders on Tuesday that is going to complete all the issues that we have raised here. Because for some of us, it is relevant who really delivers the State of the Nation address, because the processes that leads to that is the ANC process. Whoever is going to do that is the messenger of the ANC. And if the ANC is stupid enough to tell South Africans that they don't care about them and they want to use Zuma's face, so be it, and the voters must decide in 2019. Thanks.
okay.
Your question? Oh, you want a coup? You said you wanted, we wanted Kenya way or Zimbabwe way. There was a coup in Zimbabwe. Which one do you want exactly? Well, the issue of the people who were not here, we did invite all of them. But Mr. Goti, as you know, is very, very busy in Cape Town these days. Peter Groenewald did apologize, he couldn't attend the meeting. I forgot to highlight that. The NFP, sometimes they attend our meetings, but you must understand that they are also partners with government at national level. So, but we always brief them. We know that there are politics there, but I don't want to get in detail. I don't think we should be worried about the possibilities of violence. We should be lucky because we have the security forces which are not so politicized. And I hope that they can maintain that and stick to the rule of the law. All what we need to do now is to make sure that we channel a lot of resources to train our security forces and also to guide the national intelligence services, that it must be about protecting the South African interests rather than harassing individuals or allow themselves to be used for political machinations. So in terms of people who would want to see the violence, we are watching what these forces, we saw a march in Durban by Amabuto, and we have taken note of the recent calls. But this is freedom. People must voice out if they support Zuma. You saw them in Nasrec, they were there and they are still there. Even Ace and his deputy, they are saying Zuma is going nowhere. It's democracy. But make sure that they do so within the law.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the end of our press conference.
Just a moment, please. I wanted to see the last paragraph of our statement.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. The presiding officers.
Well, you may have missed this, but there is the last paragraph of our statement says that it was agreed that a formal letter be addressed to the presiding officers of Parliament, expressing our concerns in allowing the proposed SONA to go ahead on the 8th of February, 2018. So, and there's also been mentioned to you there's a meeting that's going to be taking place between ourselves and the presiding officers in the new week. So there will be some interaction between opposition leaders and the presiding officers. We cannot, unfortunately, go ahead of development. So we're taking our time and we're taking it in stride. This fear for violence is a matter that is surprising because we have a constitution now in this country and people have got freedom of choice. If you look carefully, you will see that even the marches you are talking about, they are marches of people in the Tripartite Alliance in the main. And they march into Lutuli House. They're not marching to the headquarters of the EFF or the DA. So it's internal debates inside the African National Congress. Those who say Zuma must go and those who say he must not go, they are also in the same top 6 structure. They're meeting just now. I don't know what's happening there. And we don't see why violence must erupt because this country gives everybody the right of freedom of expression. And that's why we talk about multi-party democracy. We have no reason to go to war. If there are areas to be contested, we must go to an election and people will make their choices. South Africans will make their choices and the numbers will say who goes or who does not go. So that much we must be satisfied, and we are quite satisfied that the security forces of this country are capable of containing any inclination, because law and order is something that is fully in the hands of the governing party. And they must ensure that every one of the citizens of this country is protected and the rights enshrined in the Constitution must be enjoyed by all of us. So I think we must not be alarmist and create this impression that violence is going to explode. Not in this country. We have no evidence to suggest that. Thank you very much.
Thank you and have a great weekend.
Sterkte. Utufuna Zimbabwe way, son.
Okay, I'll do something. Thank you very much.
Right, there you saw some leaders of the opposition parties, Bantu Holomisa there, the EFF there, Terra Lakota from COPE, and they were outlining their stance that President Jacob Zuma should not deliver the State of the Nation address. Remember that is scheduled for next Thursday, saying that he is simply not fit to govern, that if he does, it will show that the ANC is not responsive at all. They're not saying what they're going to do if President Jacob Zuma does address SONA, as it's known, saying perhaps a boycott could be discussed, but right now they're engaging with Parliament. And remember that the EFF also wanted a motion of no confidence to be tabled, to be discussed before the State of the Nation address. That's not going to happen. It has been tabled, however, for the 22nd of February. So they're also calling on Sean Abrahams, the head of the National Prosecuting Authority, to step down, to make way for somebody more credible, they say, to prosecute Zuma. The opposition parties were asked, why are they doing this? If they are against President Jacob Zuma, if he's not supported, surely that benefits them. If he's the one delivering the speech, saying, no, they care about the country, they don't feel that he, given the state of the inquiry into state capture and his own culpability, which they believe he should answer for, given the huge amount of counts of charges he faces, he should not be the one delivering the State of the Nation address. All right, we take a short break, news to follow.
After a horrific accident, major questions were asked.
So step one, I asked myself, do I really want to die? And my answer to that was, I'm not sure. And then step two was, do I want my parents to bury me? And the answer to that was no.